I'm Bill Oetjen. I'm running for Ward 7 School Commission. I have a routine daily with my great big dog Ambrose, and we get out around Ward 7 and Ward 4 and run into people and we chat. And sometimes I used to be a substitute teacher, 5.5 years in Burlington, and sometimes I run into kids that I knew, and it's always wonderful because I feel like a celebrity. They're like, "Hey, it's Mr. O." It's invariably a good greeting from them,
Sure.
even if I haven't seen them for years. I hear from them about what the conditions of the school, what the conditions of buildings, the administration, discipline, how much time is wasted for them. And so finally, just instead of just listening, I started asking some questions. And the more I heard from them, the more questions I had. Some of the stuff they've told me, I'm like, I need to verify that because it sounds like something out of Lord of the Flies. Their class time is interrupted constantly by disruptive students. There's no accountability. I have my own feelings about restorative circles. I'm like, I have my doubts, but I want to hear from them. So I asked, how is that working out? And they just laughed. They said, what you have are the kids who are repeat offenders. They're taught, the experience teaches them how to play the system.
Well, explain that a little bit.
Okay. Let's say you're walking past another kid's desk. It's just an example off the top of my head, and you shove their books on the floor. When I was a sub, I saw that happening. The process 8 years ago was you would make a note of it, write it up, and there would be some accountability. But now there would be restorative circles. I don't know the exact process. Yeah, I don't want to question them too much. I intend when I do get on the school board, I do intend to find out in detail about how it's working, what it's supposed to do, what it's not doing. The victim and the offender are in a circle, I guess, with their other kids and maybe a couple of adults, and it's supposed to make the offender aware that they did something wrong. I'm hearing that it's a complete failure, that there is without accountability, there can be no correction. Well, I'm 20 years of experience in teaching. I've thought all along in my preparation to become a teacher, and throughout and ever since, I think very critically about the processes in education. One thing stands out, an object lesson. What you experience, not what you're told, not what you read, not what's on the video screen, but what you experience in the world those are the most lasting lessons, is an object lesson. And when one kid I ran into just the other day, I was pumping gas and I went in to pay, and I said, "Hey, I remember you from high school." And he said, "You still in high school?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a senior." I go, "How's it going?" And we got into that. He said, "I'll tell you myself, I got into a fist fight, and it was my fault. But I was told, just, if you want to go home, go home." And it wasn't even recorded. That's another huge issue. They're giving us they're painting us this rosy picture of rainbows and unicorns. I didn't really believe when I was subbing, I didn't believe that they were accurately recording the data, that they're saying, "Oh, everything's fine." Now, that's what they project to us, and I'm more than a little suspicious that they're fudging those numbers. And this kid verified it. He said it wasn't recorded. I had no consequence. Luckily, I think this kid has decent parents, and my sense was that it would be a very rare thing. You learn these object lessons. That's what school is for, is to teach. But is this what we want to teach? Is this what we want them to generalize and to carry out?
Absolutely, yeah.
Here on Church Street.
Yeah, in the real world.
Yeah. I was, for ages and ages, very far left. And in fact, it was living in New York City, and I was in my 20s, and this is like 1981, 82. I'm reading in the New York Times about this socialist from Brooklyn who was changing Burlington. Of course, you know who I'm talking about, Bernie. And I was already involved in left-wing politics in the city, but always felt like it was a closed shop. And I said, I want to be there. I want to be part of that. So I moved up here. Immediately became a good soldier for the Progs, going out and doing putting up the signs and door knocking and a lot of tasks. I was even offered a job by Peter Clavel. You're turning up at every election. We got a job for you, and then you're committed to having to show up and be a good soldier for your employer, the Progs. So I was deeply into that. I helped push along the agenda to that ended up making hell out of Burlington, and I deeply regret that.
Until how recently did you realize that?
Well, I always questioned it. There were some aspects of the orthodoxy that I questioned. I was in an echo chamber of all the leftists, and so I did always have questions, always had doubts. In January of 2020, a few turfy friends and I we were talking about how we're griping about how the schools are taking over. The schools are indoctrinating kids. We're griping about how women's athletics that was kind of at the beginning of the colonization of women's spaces in sports. So you know where it's gone since. So this is 2020. So I just said, we need to have an open conversation, a discussion. So I went to the library, booked a room, put up a little bit of, posted some posters saying, let's have a discussion about the transgender agenda. I thought that was kind of a little
edgy.
Nice. Yeah, transgender. Yeah, I like the phrasing of that. I didn't realize that what I was doing was that there was a tanker truck full of nitroglycerin, figuratively speaking, at the top of the hill. And what I'd done was, like, what happens if I give this a little push? And within hours or days, the pushback was explosive. It was convulsive. Threats were being thrown around. I called. Do you remember Peggy Lures? Maybe not. I called Peggy. I said, Peggy, help! I think I started something I can't handle. She stepped up and she took the heat for it. We had to cancel because it was either going to become violent, or we would just be sitting in a room being screamed at by a bunch of emotionally dysregulated extremists. That's not a dialogue. I was like, we need to have a dialogue. All my former lefty friends, I was kind of Antifa adjacent, and in with all the anarchists and helped the commie crowd. I was immediately piled on, and I was like, well, can we, is there room to, I was very naive. Can we even talk about this? And I was doxxed out of work. My car was vandalized. One day I stepped out of my house to walk Ambrose, and walking down the driveway, I see next to the driver's door a pocket holster in my driveway. That doesn't get there by accident. Well, message received. Not going to change me. I'm the kind of guy, if someone says, this is the orthodoxy, no one may question the orthodoxy. I'm the guy who's going to be like, I don't care where it's coming from. Now I'm going to question it publicly and loudly because it needs to be questioned. I first visited Burlington was around 1979, 80. And I was sitting at what used to be Lunig's. It's probably still called Lunig's, but it ain't Lunig's anymore. And it was a summer day. It was beautiful, and people are just peaceful and walking down the street. And I was like, God, this is heaven. Yeah. And I was living in Queens, New York, and I was
is hell. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it has its disadvantages. So I was like, this is really a slice of heaven. I'm coming here. Yeah. And then I started hearing more about the progressive, now I call them the faux-gressives, movement, and I was like, I got to be part of that. And then we destroyed it. Here's a beautiful thing. Let's kill it. Yeah, let's